Welcome back to the Echoes podcast. I'm Jessica Smetana. He's Mike Golic Jr. We're here again on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. So please give us a subscription, a follow, a download, a like, a comment, a review, whatever you want to do. We appreciate all of it, but please subscribe because we need those sweet, sweet subscriber numbers, Mike. Today on the show, we have, like you said, Notre Dame's favorite son, one of Notre Dame's favorite sons, Julian Love, Super Bowl winner with the Seattle Seahawks, former Notre Dame cornerback. And he has a lot of fun stuff to say. So stay tuned for that. But before we get to Julian Love on the show, Mike, we have a lot of news to discuss. We have some Olympics to discuss. We have some potentially controversial player comments that we need to break down for people. And where do you want to start with that?
I'm also going to lose my mind at some point because I couldn't watch, and no one could watch, a top 10 win for Notre Dame men's lacrosse as that season gets going. But so why don't we start? We're coming off now the closing of the Winter Olympics here. And hearty congratulations. Notre Dame had a couple of Olympic winners, even though, Jess, it comes with the caveat that they will not be medal winners because of some weird archaic rule. John Robileski, who played college hockey at Notre Dame from 1999 to 2003, won a gold medal with the 2026 Olympic team as the head coach of the U.S. women's hockey team, along with John, is it Skiba or Shiba?
We'll go with Skiba.
Coach? Was also there. But I saw this note from you. The coaches
don't get medals. It's so strange. There was, after the women's gold medal match, the women's players were, wearing their gold medals. And I saw John Robileski go over and ask if he could hold one of the medals. There was a video of him being like, let me look at your medal. And that's when I found out coaches, I guess they don't get medals. I mean, maybe it's because everyone's got a different size coaching staff or something. I don't know if there's rules about not knowing the number. I have no idea, Mike. It's weird. If you get medals in the team sports, do you have to give them to the coach in the individual sports? I have no idea. It seems like for the team sports, at least the head coach and the main assistants should probably get medals, right? Is that crazy? I don't know how the Olympics work though. Everything regarding Olympics rules and regulations and all of that, it really is you start reading about it and then you're like, holy crap, there's a lot going on here and I don't understand international sports competitions.
And I hate being the guy because as someone that does a lot of national sports talk like yourself, we love to parachute in on sports that we're less familiar with. And immediately just how can we fix baseball? Even though baseball fans are we're kind of okay. And so I hate doing that with the Olympic sports that I just interact with once every 4 years and keep it moving. But this is one where hockey kind of grandfathered into what we normally talk about and just makes amount of sense. You would never in another sport think about not giving, Mike McDonald is going to get a Super Bowl ring because he helped coach Julian Love and the Seahawks to a Super Bowl. You would never dream of a world where a coach would be denied that in those circumstances. So Justin's for John Robileski and the Notre Dame faction of coaches that deserve to be gold medalists along with the women's team that won an incredible game there. So congrats to them. Awesome stuff there for them, for Irish in the Olympics. Did you have anything else on that front, Jess, before I want to get to these quotes from our Notre Dame mid-year
my last take is I love the Olympics so much, and I'm going to miss it so much. It was the best 2 weeks ever, Mike. I was so locked in every day. On sports, like you said, where I have no idea what's going on. I became an ice dance judge truther. I was like, this is unfair. Everyone's cheating, but I have no idea what's going on, but that's okay. We'll revisit in 4 years.
The Winter Olympics had incredibly compelling the biathlete drama of the guy that cheated on his girlfriend and then tried to publicly apologize. You had everything going on in women's figure skating. Alyssa Liu, Olympic hero, and now one of my favorite athletes of all time as a 20-year-old who left her sport, came back, won it, and outed herself as a major anime fan. There's just an impossible amount of things for me to like in this scenario. Almost as many things to like as there were when we saw Notre Dame's class of portal transfers take to the media. So Notre Dame did kind of a mid-year unveiling for the guys that were portal transfers and also Coach Partridge, who had come over as well. So they all spoke to the media for the first time in South Bend. And immediately, and Jess, I wonder if this hit as hard as it did because of time already served, meaning back in the day when Marcus Freeman, former Ohio State grad, took over the Notre Dame job and kind of mentioned some things about the different academic standards that did not go over well for him in the home front. I wonder if that's why this Mylan Graham sound hit the way it did, where Notre Dame's transfer wide receiver got asked about the biggest differences between Notre Dame and Ohio State and said, you had to go to class, and he meant in person, whereas Ohio State, like a lot of other schools, offers online classes for a lot of their athletes. So were you surprised at how quickly this caught fire around social media, regular media, everything?
Honestly, nothing surprises me anymore because it always seems like the most, the things that are going to explode people's brains the most are now the things that will travel fastest on the various algorithms that we all follow, Mike. But yeah, it seemed like the initial reaction was people thought he meant like he never had to go to school at Ohio State at all, like go to any classes. And I think this is a continuation of something that Carson Beck sort of said, but didn't really say about, I haven't had to go to class in 2 years, when he was being asked about school and during the college football playoff run. And people were really outraged about that. But I think this was just a in-person versus online thing, because a lot of athletes at other schools take Zoom classes. Obviously, since COVID, Zoom classes have become a lot more popular at a lot of colleges. Notre Dame's not one of them. Notre Dame, they want you to be in class. They want you to be part of the university, and they want you to be involved in the dialogue in your classes and interact with your professors. And I don't know if there's any really like online curriculum at all at Notre Dame. Maybe in like some specific programs there are, but if you're an undergraduate at Notre Dame, like you got to go to the classes. And I think that was just the distinction he was making. Like you literally have to like get up, pack your backpack, walk to class, sit in the class, and leave. Which I know for a lot of people listening to this, it's like, yeah, no duh.
Yeah, duh.
But like a lot has changed in education over the last, I don't know, whatever, 5 years or 6 years since COVID. So there's a little bit of nuance involved in that.
It's also just stuff we've known before, right? Like this is the well-worn reputation of Notre Dame, to the point where for so long people thought it was a detriment. Notre Dame, with their academic standards that were more closely associated with the Dukes and Stanfords of the world, the Northwesterns of the world, than a lot of the Power Four conference, powers that Notre Dame's trying to contend with on the football field. People wondered if it was going to like be able to jive in the same way. And so I just think that's kind of stating the obvious. It's always been there. Like to your point, like I talked to buddies of mine that played at other schools, and like they're blown away that Notre Dame student athletes are just in the general population among the dorms and don't have their own student athlete facilities the way a lot of other places do. Like a lot of other places, and now, training table and stuff's a bit different for the guys' football team. But like we used to eat in the dining hall with everyone else. Like that's stuff that didn't happen in other places. And so I do think this is just kind of another one of those reminders. And quite honestly, it's a great sell for Marcus Freeman and company, even in this time, like in so many areas where we had these debates about whether or not, the value of the education that people threw up when it came to pay for play stuff, and how so many places between the shadow curriculums and the things that we had heard about over the years fell short of living up to that standard. Like you can feel pretty good if you're a parent sending your child to Notre Dame and playing a sport, knowing they're going to be held to that standard, and your degree is actually going to mean something there in terms of the work it took.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't mean to like denigrate any other college degrees, because like none of them come easy. But no. I do think that maybe like one of my most old-fashioned takes is like going to class is actually cool and great. And I wish I could like go back sometimes and sit in some of my undergraduate classes that I took. I had so many incredibly smart professors at Notre Dame that really challenged me to think in different ways. And I don't know if you get that I don't know if that comes as easily if you're not seeing them face to face and interacting with them. So I do think that that's like generally probably a pretty good thing. And so I don't think that anything controversial here was said other than like, yeah, you don't do online classes here.
No, and I want to make that abundantly clear. Like you said, that's not a slight at other schools. Like I feel bad when I hear stories about guys that come out ill-equipped for what might happen should sports fail. And when we talk all the time about the value of the degrees, I get fired up when you've got schools trying to tout that as a plus or a reason why someone should be happy with a scholarship, when they're not doing the things on the back end to actually support that in real ways. I think every guy that goes through this process should get that. Every man or woman who goes through college should get that, so that they are equipped on the other side of this. And I am more, again, it's not denigrating anybody else, but I'm heartened to know that more often than not, Notre Dame is going to at least try to do those things to hand you the keys. It's not always successful, and there were holes in the system and will always be, but it certainly at least has a North Star it's going after.
Yeah, and Notre Dame, like every other school, is also trying to strike this balance of like, we want really good football team, but we also don't want to not have, we don't want to be fully professional. Like, these are still people trying to work towards a degree. And that balance, I think, is getting harder and harder to strike, Mike, with a lot of things going on in the sport. But this feels like, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say it is, but I think it's a good segue to what Marcus Freeman and the staff have done. And I think the reason their attrition in the portal, both like during the college football playoff famously last year and overall, is so high because they have done a good job of, even in this day and age, of trying to, continue to upgrade the level of talent that comes in, finding guys that fit that mold. And hearing the quotes from Keon Keeley, who was famously a Notre Dame commit for a while coming out of high school and ultimately went to Alabama and now came back, like, to hear the way he still talks about this place, I think is kind of
emblematic. Yeah, it is one of the things, like you said, same with the dorm situation. One of the things that makes Notre Dame a little bit different, and to some people in a good way. And Keon Keeley certainly seems like one of those people. It's like he's now come back to Notre Dame as a student after being, heavily recruited by Notre Dame and wanting to go to Notre Dame in the first place, but then ending up at Alabama, and he has only really glowing things to say about all of that. And like, it is, if every college were the same, then like, what would we even be talking about anymore, right? Like every university's got its own thing. And so like Notre Dame's got its own thing. One of their things now with recruiting, we've known this for the last few years, is they walk the athletes out onto the field, Mike, and they play the Rudy soundtrack and they play a video on the board. We've gotten to watch that a few times with recruits. It has given me goosebumps. It has made me cry. I have seen grown men, grown women, alumni alike, not alumni, watch the video and also cry at some of these events. Like, I mean, it is a special thing. And it seems like that's what got Keeley as well.
It's always hilarious what the moment is for guys, because you're right. It was last year at my family's charity golf tournament where it was in the concourse spilled out into the stadium. And when we heard that going on, like half of the outing migrated into the stands and was just watching and listening. And it was a mix of, like you said, Notre Dame grads, Notre Dame former athletes, people that were just there unaffiliated. And everyone was like dead silent taking this in. And I'm like, if we have our crowd like this, those players are all coming here. It's funny, though, that he referenced the Rudy theme song, because when I was on campus, we would always call like the song they play in the stadium before they get to the Dropkick Murphys, where it's the "And there's a man." We used to always call it "Here Come the Irish" by the White Lady, because we didn't know who sang it. We just knew she was
Kathy
a white
Richardson,
lady,
I believe.
And that was always, shout out to the White Lady. But she was always the song that was the closer for recruits back then, where it's like when that came on the highlight track, you knew everybody in the room was signing that paper and coming there. So it's nice to see them maybe getting back to their roots with the Rudy.
There was a Dick's commercial that was airing during the Olympics with the Rudy tryout theme in the background. And every time it was just like, stock footage of people playing sports. It wasn't like it was anything really like crazy, but every time I'd stop and I would listen and I would watch it. But to quote Keon Keeley, he said, he was talking about the recruiting visit. He said, "I feel like the stadium felt 10 times bigger. I'd gone in the stadium around 7 or 8 with my mom and Coach Wash and Coach Nick Sebastian and some of the recruiting guys. It was just me, and we walked into the middle of the field and they were playing the Rudy theme song. I've never really even seen Rudy, but they were playing the theme song and it felt so surreal. I teared up right then and there. I basically knew I was going to come back." So yeah, he's never even seen Rudy and he's like, wow, this is a really good score. So whoever wrote the score of Rudy, I don't remember his name. It's on my phone somewhere because I have it obviously downloaded in my music app. I listen to it as soon as I get to exit 50 on the toll road, and then I listen to it through to 77. Mike, thank you. Well done. You are as important to this football program as Newt Rockne himself, I would say. What a beautiful score. And we support you. We salute you.
We certainly do. And for Keon, maybe give Rudy a spin at some point this semester. I'm sure someone in the Notre Dame beat is going to follow up with that angle from this quote and see if at some point, maybe it's through this offseason over the summer, if Keon finds some time, maybe do a game watch with Keon Keeley of him watching Rudy for the first time and go from there. Not to give anyone too much free content ideas, but there's an easy one for you there. So it was just cool to hear him talk about that, to hear Francis Brew talk about, what sold him when Notre Dame came to Pittsburgh. And he's like, this is a home game for us. College game days in town. It's juiced. And walking through, I was still taken aback by the Notre Dame support for a game like that, which is also a common refrain, whether it's been games overseas where Notre Dame sets records for the amount of people they travel, or the way they travel for games like the CFP or situations like this. Like, those things all matter. Like, in a day and age where, again, we understand money is now a part of this process. I think the insight you got from these guys is the relationship part of this still matters. The fan support still matters. The other things that are sort of the, like, some of them tangible, some of them intangible about the recruiting process that have always been there. It is kind of nice to get a little bit of credence that those are things that still mattered in addition to the dollars and cents that are the reality of the situation.
Well, in addition to patting the composer of the Rudy soundtrack on the back, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I sacrificed a tire for that trip to Pittsburgh, Mike, so that I could be one of those obnoxious Notre Dame fans in the crowd that perhaps helped persuade Francis Brew to transfer to Notre Dame. But anyways, a lot of good stuff. I mean, we're not going to talk about all the different interviews, but those three stuck out certainly. Although the Mylan Graham one didn't really stand out, but the reaction to it did. I mean, he said something fairly innocuous, I thought. So I hope he's not getting too much online harassment from Ohio State fans or whoever else was annoyed about it. But we have an interview with Julian Love coming up on the other side of this break. It was awesome. You're definitely going to want to listen to it.
All right, incredible win for us today, getting a chance to talk to Julian Love, former Notre Dame consensus All-American defensive back, and now Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks, which I'd imagine, every passing day, does that get, something you realize more? Do you feel a little more? Where are you at the point in the, post-Super Bowl win life cycle of realizing you did the thing everyone spends their life trying to do?
I'm at the point where I feel like I'm going to be a real problem for everyone around me for the next year. I could, if I'm golfing, I could shank a shot. I don't care. I want a Super Bowl. I'm at that stage in post-win.
Mike, you gave us a stat last week about Notre Dame players catching interceptions in the Super Bowl. Julian Love obviously became one of those, I believe, two players that have done that.
One of just two Notre Dame players to have an interception in the Super Bowl. Yes, Jess.
What does that feel like, Julian?
That's crazy. I mean, obviously, a place like Notre Dame where there's been winners forever. That's pretty cool. Anytime you can, be in single digits in the Notre Dame history books, that's special. And so pretty cool. I like it.
Well, let's talk about the interception really quick. I don't know if you heard Chris Collinsworth's call of it, but it will go down in the history books, but it was awesome to watch, especially coming after another Notre Dame big play, Riley Mills' sack in the first half. So what was that like for you? I mean, you saw the ball coming right at you and you were like, all right, this is mine. I'm going to take that one.
Yeah, man. It was it was a point in the game where it was kind of like blood in the water a little bit. Everyone on the field was tired because, they were in no huddle mode for, a quarter and a half. And somehow, all right, keep your wits about you. I always feel like in those moments, all right, I feel like you're in better shape. You're a percentage in better shape than everybody else. So you should be allowed to make a play. You should be able to take that extra step more than anybody else. Everybody else is gassed. And so it was one of those moments where the receiver running route was a little tired. Everyone's kind of fatigued. And I'm just in a good spot. I have eyes. I'm guarding my guy, but I have eyes on the quarterback and see there was a miscommunication on the route run. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I stole this ball. I see it. And I was like, everyone get out of my way. Bread basket, catch it, and just try to get some sort of yards. But it was I don't know. In those moments, you just kind of black out a little bit, and just know that millions of people watched you do this.
No, it's incredible. And Jess mentioned it came after. I mean, it was a great Super Bowl for Notre Dame fans. You saw Riley, who obviously, didn't get to play a ton early in the season because he was coming off the injury from the national title run the year before in college. But, I guess for you who saw him working behind the scenes, obviously didn't play with him at Notre Dame, but certainly knew of him coming out there. What did you see from his journey and what was it like getting to kind of see him make the most of his moment there?
Yeah. So I knew of Riley a little bit. He's a Chicagoland guy. Obviously went to Notre Dame, and I follow all those guys. So I knew about him. I knew about him a little bit in high school. I think my trainer trained him a little bit for periods, and so I heard his name. I knew about him. And then when we drafted him, I haven't had any. I drafted Notre Dame players that I played with for real. No, kind of young with it. I had Golden Tate, who was kind of tail end of his career in New York, and Kyle Rudolph at the tail end of his career in New York. So I had two, iconic guys, but I haven't had anybody I was really in the mix with. He was young, grinding, trying to get it. And Riley, he got hurt in the playoff game. And so he's busting his ass pretty much every day. He is a good rookie in a room that is probably the worst room to be a rookie in, our D line. You have they're our oldest room, so you have Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed, Demarcus Lawrence. You have guys who just are very particular with their rookies, and Riley was such a good rookie. Of course he was. He got the fancy coffee maker for them. He was always getting them drinks and stuff,
Wow.
paying for all the things, doing all the things, getting all the niche little entrees and meals that their guys wanted. And so he was grinding. And then I see him working, and it kind of was known around the building that Riley is strong as shit. Like he when he's training, when he's rehabbing, like our strongest strength coach, who's real, a big guy. He's like, dude, Riley's a problem. Like, I don't know what else I can be doing to give him a good look. He's so incredibly strong. And so then he's building up. He's getting some reps. He's getting some reps, and of course he gets a sack, his first sack in the Super Bowl, and the entire sideline goes nuts because we just seen him work for a very long season. 22 however long weeks straight of just work, and so yeah, it was pretty cool to see.
It warms my heart to hear. Yeah. I do have to ask you though, so that mic'd up segment came out after the Super Bowl that you were in, which was really cool to listen to you talk about, Drake May's tendencies and stuff like that with your teammates before the interception. But then at the end of the clip, Sam Darnold came up to you at the end of the game and said something that was so disturbing from a slang point of view, which was, how about a pick in the soupy? Is he the only one that calls it a soupy? Is that a thing that other players on the team say? I mean, it was very off-putting to hear someone say, how about a pick in the soupy?
It probably was the first and last time he said it. Like the behind the scenes of it all, quarterback, it's so awkward. Like after the game, it's so awkward. I'm going to say hi to people. I could just say hi to people and say give dap and props and hug and be excited. And so I'm walking through by myself, and Sam's there with a million cameras around him, and he's just like awkwardly like looking for somebody. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go in the mix. Say, I love you. Like, thank you for everything. He was a great quarterback for us. And he says that. I probably should have prefaced like, "Hey, I'm mic'd up. Don't say some weird shit." And the spur of the moment, he says that, and of course, it gets put out there, which is so funny.
I was going to say, it's always the protocol. You got to let everyone know when you're wearing a wire out there so they know they're unlocked. But yeah.
Don't say the word soupy to refer to the Super Bowl.
I mean, it's bad enough people say natty for national championship, but I mean,
natty,
soupy.
Natty
I can accept. Soupy's too far.
Soupy's crazy.
I mean, wait, speaking of Sam, because I know obviously everyone was focused on the great redemption story with him and what a cool career arc and moment. He also had the distinction of being the first USC quarterback to start the Super Bowl. How much shit did you give him during the season when Notre Dame took USC to the freaking Madden South then?
He escaped from my grasp of shit talking. Because we have a good amount of defense. We have Leonard Williams, Uchenna Nwosu, Brandon Peely. So we have three, and our entire strength staff is USC. And so I felt like I was getting all my licks in across the whole team. And I missed him. He's always working. He's doing the extra stuff. So sometimes we don't cross paths that much. And as after the game, I didn't get Sam because I had them all in the giant leprechaun costumes, like big guys, and that would have been killer to get Sam. I just completely forgot.
Well, now that Notre Dame has officially won the USC rivalry because it's not continuing and, we're ending it on a win streak and most wins in the series, et cetera, I think they have to just wear the leprechaun suit all the time now, the last week of the college football season, right?
Oh, my gosh. No, they hated that. And I'm very regular sized, as a person. And to me, enforce these big guys to put on this leprechaun costume was a scary thing. I'm telling, no, you have to wear it. And they're getting all pressed, they're getting a little aggressive. And then I needed help from the people in the locker room, like, no, it's about to bet. You gotta put it on, put the full thing on. I'm like, thank you. And they ended up wearing it. So yeah, never again though. They almost burned him after they were done wearing them.
They had to call it backup.
Yeah, I needed backup. I need peer pressure is what I needed. And so yeah, I'm doing it in a public setting.
Damn, I did not realize the Seahawks rolled that deep with SC grads out there. We got the whole strength staff. So, I mean, that week
Full strength
leading up
staff.
to it had to be kind of wild for you then, because it's you and Riley in that whole sea of Trojan red and gold.
Yeah. Riley, because I feel like when you're first out of college, you're just excited to make every bet you can, or every, like my school versus your school gear, like, the whole thing. I learned my lesson. I feel like a year after I left, we lost some tough ones, and I'm like, all right, I gotta chill out. I gotta pick and choose my battles. But Riley was all in it, and he got the strength staff to wear Kelly Green gear for that day. So he got the whole strength staff to wear, the Irish, and I got the players. He definitely couldn't make bets with the vets in the room, and so I did. And so between the both of us, yeah, we were riding high that week. That was a good week.
So it's been a couple weeks now since the Super Bowl. How have you celebrated winning the game?
I came back home. Every morning I wake my son up. We make some breakfast. We could play with trains. We hang out. We have been very low key. We kind of hermit up a little bit postseason. I have a few things in the works. Like I have a watch on the way that I'm excited to kind of go with the ring. And my winner's watch. But other than that, we kind of chill. It's been cool just to see kind of the family and everybody else. Um, just excited for me, and so I'm just kind of enjoying it at home.
For your son, is this something that, like, he'll remember it all? I mean, he's still pretty young, isn't he? What, like 2 at this
He's
point?
2. Yeah, he's 2.
Yeah, so
Yeah. He's 2. We have all the footage and all the, the clips and all the fun stuff, and so he'll look back on it and see it. But yeah, he probably won't remember any of it.
Well, that is incredible. And Mike and I were both very happy for you, because we feel like you were sort of the start of this DBU revolution at Notre Dame. And now Notre Dame is becoming known for players like you and Leonard Moore and Benjamin Morrison and Kyle Hamilton, of course. So what has it been like for you? Obviously, you were not on Marcus Freeman's team. You were playing for Brian Kelly. But what has it been like for you seeing Notre Dame's defense sort of transform in this way since you graduated?
It's been really cool. I do take a lot of pride in it. Like you kind of said, 2016, like that class was a really good class, or 2020, 2016 high school class was a cool class. Like we had a lot of guys going to the league, and me kind of leaving early and leading a charge, becoming an All-American. Then Kyle, I hosted Kyle when I was my last year, as he was in high school coming in, and so that's my boy. I hosted Alohi Gilman when he was deciding to transfer. I probably you're talking about records being broken. I had the most hosted kids probably in Notre Dame history. Every week, because I grew up a Notre Dame fan, and so like they knew, all the people upstairs knew that, like, all right, Julian won't mess this up. Like Julian's gonna he's gonna say all the things of why you should love Notre Dame. And so that was me for 3 years while I was there, and it's cool. I mean, I follow all these guys. After the game, I was talking to Xavier Watts, and just like, dude, like stick with it. Right now, when we played them, it was kind of a weird point in the year for them. And just like, dude, I got your back. If you need anything, call me. Of course. Like we have just a pipeline of guys that are comfortable reaching out to each other, because we just want to see each other succeed, which is the best part about it.
It's incredible camaraderie. Go ahead.
Yeah, you have like the most interceptions via visit of any other host player in Notre Dame.
That is true. They technically become part of your coaching tree, which, like, hearing you say that lit me up, because that was something, Jess, that you kept track of and we used to brag to other people, because when I lived with like Dane Chris, Kyle Rudolph, Braxton Cave, and any of us would host a player and they committed, you're keeping track of who you host and who commits, so you could show them, because quite honestly, back then, like this is pre-NIL, they used to give you money to like take these guys out for like dinner and stuff like that. And we just like take them over somewhere else to a party and pocket the money for ourselves.
Of course.
Great boost.
Of course. It got bad because, like I said, I'm a homebody now. I was a homebody in college. After games, I would half the time just go back home. I'm like, all right, I'm tired. I let it go, play some video game, to do something, just hang out. And so I would then, it was like a bartering system with my guys who were on the social scene. I'm like, all right, here's $100 for you. Take this kid, you go ahead for the night, and I'll grab him from you. It was a lot of that, and I mean, there's a ton of guys that I hosted that I forgot I hosted. That some guys in the league who some didn't go to Notre Dame, did my job good, and they were like, dude, like, what's up, man? Like, I remember when you hosted me. I'm like, whoa, I forgot that I hosted you, and that happened. Has happened several times. Where,
Wow.
yeah, and so it's cool. My hit rate is high for the league. Maybe not Notre Dame, but well, guys ended up being successful other ways.
You got the good eye for guys that are going to play on Sundays. There's
I'm
nothing wrong
telling
with
you,
that.
I'm telling you.
What do you think the winning pitch was that got some of the guys to go to Notre Dame? Like what keys did you have to hit with them?
Oh yeah.
It was always tough for me because I back then, like my mind couldn't process any other school other than Notre Dame. Like when you grow up in the Chicagoland area and you value school, uh, and obviously I'm trying to play big time football. Like, what other option is there for me? I'm on prime time on NBC every weekend, and my degree means something. You can see a corner of it. Hey, and that's the only reason I got it right there to have a Zoom background years later. Um, and so that was kind of my pitch. Was like, listen, if you want to play in front of people on TV, get eyes on you, you come here. If you care about, after you're done playing, if you want to be a future CEO, if you want to, kind of go down that route, if you want to be successful after outside the game, then you come here as well. Like it's a win-win. It's a small school. We all know each other. We all look after each other. And so that was kind of my pitch. And it helped that I was walking the walk. I could do that better than I could talk. And so, I was like, all right, just watch, you just saw me play. And now you're about to see kind of all of us hang out with each other and it's like love each other up. And so it created a cool vibe. Everybody it was really close. I think that's how I got Lofi Gilman, to be honest with you. It's like I took him back and it was a summer and there's nothing going on. It was just a dry night or weekend, whatever it was. And so like 12 of us were in our Siegfried Hall. I think it was Siegfried dorm, just playing Uno. And all of us still talk about that to this day, like how that's how we knew, yeah, he can hang with us.
It's incredible how similar almost every Notre Dame athlete is through the years. Where like those little moments. Well, and like I guess I'm curious from that standpoint because you mentioned you grew up a Notre Dame guy. Like that was you through and through. You go there, you're a star there, and you get to the NFL. Like that had been, to your point, your focus. Which I mean, again, very similar. I grew up a huge Notre Dame fan because of my whole family. Like that was all I ever wanted. Did you have a moment where you got to the NFL where you're like, oh, my experience here was different than what a lot of these other guys had at different schools, or my relationship with my alma mater feels different than some of what I'm hearing about anecdotally from guys that went a different route?
Yeah. It starts, the first person I shook hands with my Washington Giants building. He was kind of on the personnel side. He was on the staff. And he was like so excited. He's like, Julian Love, I won't say his name. Nice to meet you. I'm really happy you're here. I was at Notre Dame back in the day. He didn't go to Notre Dame, but he worked for the football team at one point in his career. And he's like, I'm really excited to have you here. Like, and like everyone like would go out of your way to like say like, I was over there. If you spent any amount of time there, you have a love and appreciation for it. From the outside, obviously there's a lot of people that just don't like Notre Dame, but if you spend any time there, you get it. Like you get it. And so there's a lot of that. And I went to the Giants was a really good organization in terms of like how they treated the players and kind of the day-to-day kind of life that we were in. And it was on par with what we had in Notre Dame, like the travel, all the food, like it was just a very first class deal. And I learned it's not that like that everywhere else. And everybody was excited about certain things. I'm like this is not normal. Like that's just kind of like the standard that I had. And so yeah, it was really cool, and I learned a lot for me to be successful and competitive early in my NFL career for sure.
One of the things that was making waves on the interwebs last week was Notre Dame's new transfer wide receiver, Mylan Graham, talking about how transferring from Ohio State to Notre Dame was different because now he had to go to class. And he meant like in-person class, not like online class. Okay. But I was wondering if that was something that crossed, that you saw, and if you had any thoughts on that.
I didn't see that. That's funny. That that's kind of a common thing. People talk about, like going to class and, the college academic experience from different programs. I like stress to people who don't know. I'm like, no, like I was struggling. Like I had to like could really, really get after it and like really put in a lot of extra time to get by in certain classes and succeed in other classes. It's very real. I left early. I left Notre Dame early, and I played my rookie season. And I had to finish my business degree. I'm like, all right, I got to do it now. I can't wait. If I wait, I'm not gonna want to go back. And so I'm like, let's just rip it all in one go. And they told me I had to be in person. I'm like, oh, I can't zoom this in, because it was 2020, so Zoom was really popping back then, and so I had to go back for Mendoza classes in person. I'm like, just give me the max amount you could take in the
Yep.
semester. And yeah, I was in person. So like, that just kind of explains like, no, there's no, you got to go through, not around. There is no shortcuts. You just got to do it. And I think that's what makes it pretty fun. And then once you get through it, it's special.
That it is one of the unique things. I know a few students that graduated a couple of years ago that were in classes with Jerome Bettis
Oh
senior,
yeah,
not young
Yeah.
Jerome Bettis now, but
yeah.
and like he's not going to get Zoom compensation. Like no one else is going to get Zoom compensation.
That's perfect. Exactly right. If that man's in class, everybody has to go to class.
Wait, you mentioned though that there are some classes you just survive. Like I'm curious, and especially for the football guys, where like a lot of us, we're getting there with a little bit of added help versus the general student population.
Yeah.
It was Calc 2 for me that also almost made me believe maybe I'm not cut out for this. Do you remember the first class that like bloodied your nose a little bit when you were at Notre Dame, where you're like, oh man, this is
Oh
different?
man. Yeah. I would say there were several the first 2 years were really tough. Like where you're doing what is it? General electives, like you're doing everything.
Yeah.
Those I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I gotta find a way. And accounting 1 almost took me down. And I and I'm and I'm like solid in math. Like I'm not even a bad student. Like I can do solid. But that was the first class. I'm like looking around and everybody's, just kind of like Calico and just casually like writing notes, just kind of watching like very confident in themselves. I'm looking around like, wait, does you guys know what's going on right now? Like for 80% of the time, I'm looking around like I don't even know where to start. I can't even ask a question because I don't know what question to ask. Absolute just gut punch. Survived barely that class. I'm like, okay, I gotta double down. Change professors for accounting 2. And then like the other side of it is like I was really proud of how I did in accounting 2. Like like I worked for it. I did all the extra stuff. There's no, player preferential treatment, none of that. And I got a better grade in accounting 2. I'm like, okay, I got this. I can figure this thing out. Accounting 1, I don't want to see that again. But I ran it back.
You're probably not the only Notre Dame graduate to say accounting 1 was the worst, the worst
My
class that
gosh.
they took.
I am proud though. My proudest, probably most proud thing is I didn't drop a class. So
Wow.
I didn't drop a class. Everything I signed up for, I passed, and that was like, all right. That's what allowed me to kind of graduate with my class, even though I left early. Because all the summers they load up and add up, and so I was a little bit ahead, and so that's my proud get by stat.
Well, I have to ask you, Julian, as a fellow Chicagoan,
Yeah.
we grew up not far away from one another. What are your thoughts after hearing that the Bears may be moving to Hammond,
Mm.
Indiana?
It is so weird. It's I don't know. I feel like it's the city is so iconic. The Bears, organization is so iconic. Soldier Field is. I know, there's issues as a player playing on Soldier Field. It needs to be kept up better. The grass, man, it's not the best.
Oof.
But I don't know. I feel like the city just needs to have the Bears in it. They got to make a way. I think there's on both sides, the city and the organization. Like there's a ton of posturing going on. I don't believe they're going to Indiana. That'd be absolutely crazy. But they're both, setting a tone of like we're not deviating from what we want to do. Um, I don't know. I don't play for the Bears, but it'd just be weird to not have them in the city.
Listen, as someone that grew up in Connecticut during a time where the Patriots tried to pull this of Massachusetts and everyone in Connecticut thought the Patriots are going to come down and play there, Hammond, Indiana, I got news for y'all. They ain't coming to play in Hammond. Don't do this to yourself. Don't get your hopes up. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, but it's also a very dangerous thing. So just a word of caution from someone that lived it on the other side of there. Julian, we'll get you out there on this, man. We're a Notre Dame pod through and through. You're one of Notre Dame's favorite sons in the NFL. Do you have a favorite memory from South Bend? Can be football related, can be campus related, or a place that is the first one that you go back to now, especially, being a dad, getting to bring your family around there?
Yeah. So my wife went to, there's a few. My wife went to St. Mary's, started dating in high school. We're able to obviously date throughout. So going on St. Mary's Ave was always fun for her and fun, because it's part of my experience too. I used to walk down that last street. I don't know what was going on back then. But so that's something that my wife always reflects on. That's fun. I think about, I was in Duncan Hall. So was that West Quad, the very edge by the golf course. And so that walk from there to the Goog was about a mile. I think it was I think it was the longest stretch other than Carroll or something.
Yeah. That doesn't even count.
It was about a mile. And there was two walks, that one I loved and one I hated. That spring ball walk, or not even spring ball, spring workout walk, February. I didn't have a car and I'm just trudging along. It's pitch black out in my winter issued gear, just miserable. Just thinking for a mile, do I really want to do this? Just for a mile, just cold, just try not to slip on any ice, just trudging along. And then the flip side of that was, if we play on Saturday, maybe the Friday, it's right before the game. The tailgates pretty much started the day before the games for big games, and it was really cool to then walk from my dorm to get ready to go to the facility to then have me and go to the hotel where we were doing. That walk was always special. I would always kind of just be low key. I would never really unnoticed or anything, so I could just be really unassuming walking to my spot. But the tailgate starting, you smell the barbecue in the air. You're passing by all the people excited to see the campus. And it just always made me really grateful for the moment I was in, what I did, playing football, walking by touchdown Jesus was always cool. And so that walk always I felt something. And so I would say those two, they're juxtaposed, they're different, but it's just I think about that all the time.
It's a great summary of the Notre Dame student athlete experience there side by side. So no better note to end on than that. Julian, this is awesome, man. Congrats again on all the success, on getting to call yourself Super Bowl champion from here on out. Best of luck. Enjoy your off season, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Awesome stuff from Julian. Really appreciate it. Again, if you weren't going to hit the subscribe button before, let that be the thing that does. We'll have plenty more of that coming this offseason as we get going into the meat of that now. In the meantime, Jess, two big items for, I would say, your and I's two favorite teams on campus outside of the Notre Dame football team. We'll start with the positive from Notre Dame women's basketball, since I am going to be a bit of a curmudgeon when it comes to Notre Dame lack. So more great news for Hannah Hidalgo and wins that went along with it, which is nice when those two things have lined up.
Yes, Notre Dame won against Wake Forest earlier last week, and then on Sunday defeated SMU on the road. Neither team is great teams in the ACC standings, but it doesn't matter because you have to win those games and you have to put a stamp on it now as we head towards the NCAA tournament. Notre Dame, I said last week they were kind of in that awkward 8-9 seed range. Now they're a projected 7 seed team, Mike, which is really good. And this win over SMU for Hannah Hidalgo was truly one of the most ridiculous. And I say this a lot about her, okay? But this one was really ridiculous because SMU could not dribble the ball anywhere near her. She was just pickpocketing every single player on that team. She ended up with 11 steals. She almost had a points, steals, rebounds, triple-double. She was 1 rebound away. She had 31 points, 11 steals, and 9 rebounds. It was a ridiculous performance. I'm not convinced that she couldn't beat that team 1-on-5 with the way she was able to just completely control the game defensively and also finish her shots. And she just like is such an incredible player to watch, Mike. But the rest of the team obviously also played really well. Ayana Moore continues to be really solid for Notre Dame too. Cass Prosper. But it was Hannah's birthday and she finished with 31 points and 11 steals, extending her double-digit point streak now, I think, at 93 games. I don't think she's never had a game in her career where she hasn't had double-digit points, which is tied with Audie Crooks for the longest active streak in Division I women's basketball. So she just continues to be on a tear this season.
It's been incredible. I see she just turned 21 too. Like, my God, to like be doing all this as young as she is. It's amazing. The Hannah Hidalgo legacy conversation will be really interesting because the team success hasn't been there the same way it has been over, like, especially come tournament time for a lot of her predecessors. But like, she's doing stuff that we've really never seen, especially in terms of some of the defensive prowess.
They won the regular season ACC last year. I think they tied the shared, regular season championship. They won the ACC tournament her freshman year. And this team's had to do a lot. Her first 2 years, they had to do a lot of this with significant injuries on the team. Last year, obviously being like the big bummer because of the, Sweet 16, not making it past the Sweet 16 round again. But even her freshman year, Mike, I still believe if the officials didn't arbitrarily try to make her remove her nose ring in that game, Notre Dame would have won. That is something that I will die on that hill, Mike. I will die on that hill. That should have been a win for Notre Dame in Hannah Hidalgo's freshman season. So, yes, like you said, the tournament success hasn't been there, but the ACC success, I think, has been there. And if she's not ACC Player of the Year, which, I don't know, might be close this year. There's some other good players, but I don't see another player like her in the ACC right now that is consistently putting up the numbers she's putting up every single week.
I had forgotten about that nose ring. That needs to be up in the Joyce Center in those like cabinets back there of the famous Notre Dame relics of like what could have been. That does seem kind of nasty now that I say it out loud, but man, I had forgotten about that. The nose ring heard round the world. What an awful, stupid moment that I will never forgive.
I have an idea. Next year, when they open the season in Rome, bring the nose ring, have it blessed by the Pope, undo the curse of the nose ring. Next year, 2027 national championship. What do you think?
I love it. Listen, other programs might sage it. We've got a different way to go here. We've got a different avenue available to us by nature of the Catholic school of it all. I think it's a great idea. It's all the more reason why we need to make sure that you're over there for that game so that you can ensure that this happens and goes along. We're going to keep speaking it into existence. So that was good news, Jess, on the women's basketball
Mike's
front.
complaint corner is back. Talk to us, Mike.
Well, I mean, again, like this is the inherent conflict in this because there is good news wrapped up in this. Notre Dame lacrosse beat a top 5 team at home this weekend. Georgetown came in ranked number 3, and Notre Dame got a 15-9 win. I just went and checked the Inside Lacrosse poll now, and Notre Dame is up to number 2 in the country. North Carolina is, I think, number 1 in men's and women's right now. But number 1 ranked Syracuse got beat by Harvard, so that meant there was going to be a new number 1, and Notre Dame is back in there now. They're 3-0. We know the first 2 games were easier opponents, but this was their first big test, and it was incredible. And you read all the stuff about the guys that have stepped up in this game right now. So far this season, Josh Yago, who's the transfer from Air Force, has been incredible, leads the team in points. You look at him, freshman Ted Lowley, second on the team in points, was the 6th ranked recruit in this 2025 class, already paying dividends for them. It was all great news. The defense forced 19 turnovers in this game. Sean Light looks like the second coming of the greatest defender in Notre Dame lacrosse history, and I couldn't watch any of it. I couldn't see any of it.
But why? Like, do we know why this was not broadcast anywhere? I know that they moved the game indoors because of weather, but is this Notre Dame's thing?
So, no one has had an official word about this. I have seen nothing from the university or a broadcast partner. Because again, to your point, the game was supposed to take place on Sunday. They announced like a day or two before, hey, because of weather, we're going to move this into Loftus, which if you've been a Notre Dame lacrosse fan for any amount of time, pretty much every February game, I assume until proven otherwise, is going to be played indoors in Loftus. And it's been at times a huge advantage for Notre Dame because it's not a regulation-sized field in there. The lighting's different. Weird. Opposing teams coming in, like trying to see the ball off the background of the indoor in there is very jarring for teams that don't play in there often. And so with this win, you also kind of have to throw that caveat in of like the Loftus bump for Notre Dame is kind of a real phenomenon. But at the same time, so that all happens. They move it inside, and then they announce And because of that, it will not be broadcast. It was supposed to be on ACC Network Extra. So, like, it wasn't a banner game, which blew my mind to begin with, that wasn't higher up the org chart for the broadcast partner, given what the magnitude of this game was. Notre Dame came in ranked 7th. Georgetown came in ranked 3rd. Like, that was a pretty big game. And so they moved that in there and they say there's going to be no broadcast, and there's no explanation for it. And just like when I worked at ESPN, I got to broadcast some college lacrosse when I was there, and I got to call a game in Loftus. Like, I think I called Notre Dame, Maryland in Loftus back in the day for that. The stadium can the indoor facility can absolutely like house the equipment to do this, potentially stream this. So I haven't heard an explanation. I don't know if this is relative to the construction going on around there with the new football facility that's right in the same area, maybe changing the capabilities for that. If it really was too close of a switch to try and do something like that, like I am still waiting for it, because whatever the explanation is, incredibly disappointing. Like, how sad for these players that a great performance like this is not going to be seen by more people. Shout out, by the way, in that regard, and I want to make sure I give them some love, because while you couldn't see the game on any broadcast, you could hear the game there. WVFI, Notre Dame student radio station on campus, Tyler Reedy, who was on the broadcast for that, they did a great job broadcasting that on student radio, which we didn't have a student radio station when I was there. So I'm so fired up that these guys have that opportunity. And what a great chance for them, when no one else had an option besides mining Twitter for updates, to go and have maybe more people tune into that broadcast. So awesome job by everyone there. But Jess, I just can't believe that in 2026, we're dealing with this. Like, I complained about that Marquette camera angle. I'd have taken that in a heartbeat. Over this.
It does blow my mind. Also, yeah, you mentioned Tyler Reedy. I watch a lot of ACC Extra women's basketball games. He calls a lot of the home games, does a great job. The student broadcast team at Notre Dame does phenomenal work. I cannot imagine doing that as like a 20-year-old. Would be terrifying. But it is fairly strange, especially because we live in the age where the television and cable networks are like begging for programming, especially like low budget programming, like stuff that's not super expensive to make. So that I find a little strange. It was also like a Sunday afternoon. Maybe there was basketball on, but on ACC Extra, I think that, I don't think that comes into play. So I have no idea. I'm going to blame the ACC because I'm a hater and I'm still not happy with them. So we'll blame them for now until we hear an update. But I agree, it's fairly ridiculous. This is like big time college lacrosse, and it just exists over student radio. And I saw a lot of angry comments from people on social media, Mike, not happy. Lacrosse fans around the world not happy.
It's already a sport that's had some issues in terms of like how they model and schedule their television product at the college level. That's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, like myself included. This is a sport that at times I think gets in its own way in terms of what it could be in that regard. But Notre Dame has become one of the most popular programs in college lacrosse, like especially the advent of, all the Kavanaughs going through, especially when Pat and Chris were there together. They win these 2 national championships. Like, they're a team that got a lot of young fans into the sport, and they're a national brand in this. And to not have that exposure for a team that could very well be the number 1 team in the country at some point this season, looks like early in the season could, despite losing so many players from last year, be in the conversation for a team that can play on championship weekend. Like, it was just a bummer. So again, I don't know who to blame yet. I don't know what the explanation is. I'm still hunting it down, but haven't gotten enough of this as Jess continues to go the ACC route. But we'll wait and see. Either way, we got a great lacrosse team, it appears, in tow. So I'm excited to watch the next game whenever that is possible yet again here. We hope you enjoyed watching or listening to us. If you did, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review, do all the things. Thank you again to Julian Love for stopping by. Hit us in the comments as always. We've seen some of the guest suggestions. I promise I'll text Michael Floyd soon and make that happen. We'll get Brady Quinn on the horn. We hear you. We see you. We appreciate you. Have a great week and go Irish.